Today's been a really good day. Started off the day with a meeting at a studio called Southern Ground Nashville, I think. Didn't happen much, he just showed me the place. Then afterwards I was hanging in the area for a while because I had some time to kill until the next meeting at 12:30. And this manager guy hit me up. I was at a studio yesterday called Alex the Great, and the owner forwarded me to this guy called Mike Dixon, and he's produced guys like Shawn Mendes, and like a couple of other big artists. And he's got a couple of developing artists he's producing or managing. So he hit me up and he was like, be at this and this cafe at 11 a.m. So I went there and said hi, and he was in a meeting himself with one of his partners. Yeah, he was really friendly and very interested in what I had to say and so forth. He asked me to forward his music to him, so hopefully he's interested in a couple of songs, and something's gonna happen. And he said he's gonna link me up with some of his artists overseas. Like, he lives in Nashville, but he mainly does business in London and Berlin apparently. And his other partner, he's also got like an agency or something, and he's from Toronto, and he said I should go there, or if I'm in Toronto he could set me up with some great artists. So it's pretty good so far. Gonna see what's gonna happen. I was at 3 other meetings too today, but nothing happened really. It was just kind of studio tours and some chats. Yeah, one of them, the Southern Ground Nashville, is just here around the corner. ASCAP is over there. Don't know if you can see it. I said hi, but they're just kind of a royalty collection agency, and they don't really have anything to do with publishing or song pitches. Right now I'm on my way to the Hutton Hotel, where I'm gonna check out this gig of 2 guys that I met yesterday. They're doing a gig with this girl. She's a solo artist, but I think they're like doing the performance with her. They're not like in the band for sure, for good, but just kind of like session musicians almost. Their studio is called Racehorse. It's really cool. I have no idea what music they're gonna play. I'm just gonna go there and say hi and check out their performance, because I don't really have a lot going on right now. For some reason, everywhere you go here in Nashville, there's these bachelorette parties with screaming girls on those trucks. I don't know why that's a thing, but it's like everywhere you go. Every two minutes you see those screaming girls on those trucks. Hey! There's another one of these. I can't turn it. Another bachelorette party. Some of my friends said I should share my opinion on a couple of things on these vlogs, just talk about a couple of like whatever's on my mind and so forth. So I was like, sure. So one thing that is always kind of a topic is motivation. I have a lot of meetings where nothing happens because so much as like engineers or studio owners, and you don't really know what happens when you go into the studio. And sometimes you just end up talking for a while. Sometimes they forward you to other people. Sometimes they want to make a song with you. Sometimes they want you to remix it. Like it's never it's never the same, it's always different. So I watched this Joe Rogan talk today about, it's called Rant About Happiness, and he talks about how you kind of gotta do the uncomfortable stuff. So to get happy or be happy, the goal in life is not to be to seek comfort, but like to seek the uncomfort, and out of this you're gonna feel comfortable. So one example is, for him, he does the yoga for a while, like 1.5 hours or something, and the last 20 minutes he really doesn't want to do them, but he sticks to it and does it, and afterwards he's like, oh, I'm so happy I did it, I feel great now. And that one was like such a good reminder for me. I'm like, yes, that is so true. It's kind of a little frustrating sometimes when, you know, you've been to 10 meetings, and often, especially here in Nashville where the public transport is kind of crappy, it can take easily 2 hours to get from point A to B, and that involves waiting for the bus for around half an hour, or walking for 15 minutes or 30 minutes sometimes to, you know, to get from the bus stop to the place you need to be. And you do this all the time, and then sometimes you spend like 10 minutes in the place and you're off again for 2 hours, and you're like, that wasn't really worth it. But then sometimes this whole thing leads to something else. For example, I went to Alex the Great recording studio. He didn't really, you know, he doesn't really make electronic music or anything, he just kind of records and writes. So it wasn't his realm, and I was there for like 10 minutes. But then he was like, you know who you should hit up is this guy, Mike Dixon. He could be interested in your songs. And I had never heard of that guy, but yeah, apparently he's produced John Mendes, so it's pretty big. For me at the moment, it's all about going to like 10 or 20 or whatever meetings, just so one of them actually pays off. But that's the game. Sometimes I get a little, you know, almost depressed. I'm like, oh, is this really worth it? Like, am I doing the right thing and whatnot? But then things like these happen now and then, rarely, but it's confirmation again that, you know, I'm actually moving forward and I'm not just kind of wasting my time. I feel like I learned a lot over the course of this year, especially patience. But it's not always easy to stay motivated, get up in the morning, do your stuff if you're not really seeing the results. So the music industry is very slow paced usually. It can happen pretty fast, but you know, with a lot of the artists I'm collaborating with, they're really excited about the song first, and then you wait maybe for 1 or 2 months, and you're like, you know, okay, they obviously have other stuff going on. Like I of course I respect that and everything, and I know this, and they're always like excited about the songs. But then when it actually comes to following up, nothing happens. It just kind of fades away, or they don't reply or anything, which can be so frustrating. And you never really know who's actually gonna follow up and who won't. So at some point you just kind of have to move on with the song, even though you plan to collaborate with someone else. But you know, if people don't reply, like that's the least you can do. I feel like somebody can always like take 5 seconds to say, hey, sorry, I'm really busy at the moment. Please give me another month or whatever. But yeah, I've run into too many, especially like young people who think they're committed, but they just don't follow up. And it's kind of, you know, really annoying, and also drains your motivation extremely. So, you know, but then again, it's like a learning process. Who do you work with? Who is, you know, who's worth the wait or whatever. At this point, I just want to like get moving, get songs out, even if they're not the most talented people or whatever. But I feel like with a manager such as Mike Dixon, like they're interested in getting songs out. So hopefully things are gonna move a little faster that way. There's these other things like currently I'm just sleeping at a couch in somebody's living room in some Airbnb. One of my friends was like, "Oh damn, that's gotta be uncomfortable." And I was like, "No, not really. I mean, I don't really care where I am as long as things are moving forward." I feel like one of the main problems is that even if I have 3 meetings, it varies how long I'm in there. You know, there are always new people who I don't know yet. You know, you can talk to them and everything, but it's not exactly the same like talking to a friend. And when I'm alone or just kind of on transit from place A to B, I tend to overthink a lot of stuff, and I really get into my head, and that kind of almost gets me like a little depressed sometimes, because you know how it is, you overthink and everything is bad and blah blah blah, and you don't really have, you know, there's too much time for thinking instead of doing, because you just sit on the bus for like, you know, or you're on the way for 2 hours, and you can't really do much within that time period. And then you get to a studio, and even if they're like chill and everything, it's not really the same as talking to a friend. So you don't get that, I don't know what you want to call it, like emotional satisfaction, or you know, just the basic social needs, I guess. It's just not the same. That's definitely like a big topic, because I've been doing this for 7-8 months now, and I usually only spend like 2 weeks, max 3 weeks at home, but maybe sometimes it's only 1 week, and then I'm off again. So you know, kind of depends. I think in the beginning it felt a little more lonely than it does now, and now I'm kind of used to it. I'm much more independent than I was in the beginning, and of course, like, you grow doing these things. For me, it just really highlighted how important these like small interactions are, like, you know, having lunch with a friend or just chilling in the evening for a while. Even if you're not doing much or anything, like, that stuff is so important. And I feel like it's one of those things, once it's gone, you notice the value of it or whatever. There's one other thing that kind of irritates me sometimes. People are probably gonna say, "Oh, you're spoiled," and whatnot. But okay, this is it. A lot of people are like, "Oh, your life must be so great and amazing, and I wish I could do this, go around the globe and meet people and things like this." And I'm like, yeah, I mean, yes, that is pretty amazing, but they never get what that brings with it. Like, they don't get that you're gonna spend a lot of time on your own. They don't get that a city is still just a city. You know, it's not the same as holidays, really. You're not like, I'm not doing like tourist attractions and things like this. I'm just going to these meetings, and in between I'm you know, doing emails or whatever as much as I can to keep the ball rolling. But they're always like, "Oh, you know, you're meeting all these amazing people, and they're having such an extreme, like, exaggerated imagination of what I'm doing." Like, of course I'm grateful and happy that I get to do this, definitely, and no doubt about this. But it also means a couple of other things. And if I tell them, you know, that, you know, it gets lonely and things like this, they're like, "Yeah, but you're in these great places and things like this." And I'm like, you know, there's still cities. Like, just because things look different doesn't mean it's better, or just because you don't know it, you haven't seen it before, doesn't mean it's better. Why is it better to be in Nashville than in Zurich? Like, it's just a different place. In the first 3 days, it might be like great seeing a new place, but then, you know, in the end, it's just kind of a city. I feel like this is a really important point, and it goes back to, you know, what Joe Rogan talked about. If you're always looking at, "Oh, this other guy has it so good, I wish I could be traveling the world and things like this," like, you will always perceive your life as like worse than, in this case, than mine, which is, you know, not true. You might have like great friends that are really important to you, like, you know, they forget that they will be gone for that time. And I feel like in games like this, like, you can never win in this game. You know, there's always two sides to the coin. Or for example, doing this traveling also means that a relationship is not really possible if you want to see your girlfriend or whoever it is regularly. Like, that's not really possible. And I feel like people forget these things, and you will always lose at the game of this guy has it better. Like, there's always a person who has it worse, and there's always a person who has it better. And it's just important to look at what's there in your life, like what you appreciate. I could get depressed because I'm like a social person, or I need a lot of social interaction, and I could be like, oh, these 6 months were enough for me or whatever, but I just keep going and until eventually it works out or whatever's going to come out of this. So another thing is, people always talk about, oh, I want to go there, or I should go there, and this and that. And they have. A lot of them, not everyone of course, but a lot of them I know who talk about this stuff have the financial means to do it, but they never do it. Like, they never ever actually follow up on what they say. And they're like, oh, you have it so great. I'm like, dude, you could do this too, but you're not. And that's the difference between me and you. Like, the side A complains about it, and the other person does it. Personally, I don't really care about that, because everybody has to decide for their own what they're gonna spend their thoughts and energy on. And this is just what other people have. Like, I could be doing this. I could be like, oh, you have it so good. You can hang out with your friends and have a stable job. This is not the case for me, but I would never do this. Not because this is better or worse, just because it's a stupid game that you can never win. Like, why should I be wasting my time with this? If there's like this good saying, whether you think you can or you can't, you're right. Like, in both cases. And this is also applicable for this topic. Whether you think your life is worse or better than others, you're right. Like, whichever way you think, you're right. I think it's pretty obvious which one is the right answer.
Missing how it was. Bruises on my legs from the BB guns. Little orange tears so that we would know.
I'm back in the Airbnb, just cutting that footage from today, and then I'm off to bed. See you next time.
To sing from a song.